It's a sworn enemy of lying papaci's smugness and groupthink of the best night with the ones you love. We'll see that.
Bent by the gravity of the black hole.
The HLN True Crime Series, How We...
PFP professionals are focused on providing holistic financial planning in the client's best interest. Let's
Capture.
Go through.
We mark a tragic milestone here in the United States. 1 million COVID deaths.
President Biden says Congress needs to come up with more money to mitigate the virus. White House correspondent Ed O'Keefe.
The president is also pushing Congress to fund more pandemic preparedness, but that is stalled. So the White House is prodding lawmakers by once again warning there could be up to 100 million COVID infections across this country by this fall. There's more money soon to pay for vaccines and other treatment.
North Korea has been quiet about the pandemic since the start, but no more. CBS's Alex Jensen is in Seoul.
In addition to confirming 6 COVID-19 deaths, North Korea state media reports nearly 190,000 people are in isolation. The country's strategy had been to attempt to lock itself away from the pandemic, and leader Kim Jong-un's been critical of officials by blaming a vulnerable point in the epidemic prevention system.
The Coast Guard says at least 11 migrants are dead. 31, though, have been rescued from a capsized boat near Puerto Rico. Coast Guard spokesman Ricardo Castrodad is in San Juan.
This is a very unfortunate case. It's still evolving. We're still searching, and an unfortunate outcome for a very unfortunate situation.
He says this is believed to be a human smuggling operation gone wrong. The latest on the baby formula shortage includes doctors warning moms not to stretch their supplies by watering them down.
It is a crisis of monumental proportions.
Dr. Mark Corkins is a pediatric gastroenterologist at Children's Hospital in Memphis, and he's worried that some parents might be trying to stretch formula by diluting it.
If you dilute it in half, you get half the nutrients. Well, do you want half the brain development?
So why not just breastfeed?
There are moms who are on medications that can't breastfeed. There's moms, their milk just doesn't come in.
And says Dr. Corkins, mothers who have been using formula for quite some time are not likely to be able to breastfeed later. Linda Kenyon, CBS News.
Correspondent Charlie Daggett has the latest on Ukraine's fight against Russia.
Ukrainian forces have launched a blistering counterattack outside Kharkiv.
Up at the market and never lose money.
You know, close to being out.
You know, I was shocked to find out 9 out of 10 people still buy hearing aids from clinics and pay $5,000.
They all lead to the American people. You actually use those words. Do you think you're getting through to the American people?
Well, I hope we are. So, you know, most of the people who listen to the press conference and follow our communications very carefully are market participants or economists, Fed watchers of various kinds. And I thought it was important to try to speak directly to the public that we serve and tell them that we understand that inflation is very painful, that the Fed is accountable to get inflation down to 2%, and that we have the tools and we have the strong desire to get inflation under control, and we'll do that.
I don't doubt that they take you at your word that you want to get this under control, and that price stability in Fed speak is critical to this entire economy. I wonder what you say, though, to the person who, as you tighten up on interest rates and slow the economy down, right, which is the plan, what do you say to the person who's going to lose his or her job? Not see the pay raise that they ordinarily would get.
So you can see that inflation is just way too high here in the United States. And by the way, the same all over the world. Really, the global economies are hit by a series of inflationary shocks. And pretty much, I just came back from a set of meetings with central bankers from around the world, and we're all facing the same kind of issues, and the public are facing the same kind of issues.
Worse here, though. Worse here, to be clear.
Some places worse, some places better. We're facing different challenges, but then again, our economy is more fully recovered. They may be just behind us in time. But what would I say to that person? So I would say that we fully understand and appreciate how painful inflation is, and that we have the tools and the resolve to get it down to 2%, and that we're going to do that. I will also say that the process of getting inflation down to 2% will also include some pain. But ultimately, the most painful thing would be if we were to fail to deal with it and inflation were to get entrenched in the economy at high levels. And we know what that's like, and that's just people losing the value of their paycheck to high inflation, and ultimately we'd have to go through a much deeper downturn. And so we really need to avoid that.
What keeps you up more at night? The prospect of inflation sticking around, or the idea that you're going to cause a recession?
Well, look, I think it's a very challenging environment to make monetary policy, and we certainly, our goal, of course, is to get inflation back down to 2% without having the economy go into recession, or to put it this way, with the labor market remaining fairly strong. That's what we're trying to achieve. I think the one thing we really cannot do is to fail to restore price stability, though. Nothing in the economy works. The economy doesn't work for anybody without price stability. We went through periods in our history where inflation was quite high. This was back in the 70s, and I was old enough to remember. I'm old enough to remember that very well. And we can't fail to restore price stability.
How much do you think it matters, just on that idea of the 1970s, how much do you think it matters that there are generations of people in this economy who've known nothing but 2% inflation or less for like 50 years now?
So I think,
and that's why this is scary as hell, right?
Well, I guess I would say it this way. You know, it's a good thing that we haven't had high inflation really in 40 years. It's a great thing. You know, the 70s and the 80s, it's a very unpleasant phenomenon, and people are now, for the first time, many people, as you point out, are young enough that they haven't experienced it, and now they're seeing what it is. And it's unfortunate. I wish they weren't. I wish that all of this hadn't happened and we still had 2% inflation. And we need to get back to 2% inflation. Now, that's the main thing. The main lesson is we must do whatever, you know, what we need to do to get inflation back to 2%. And we have the tools to do that, and we will.
So you've said you're going to do whatever you need to do. At that last meeting, you specifically took a 75 basis point increase in the federal funds rate, that is to say 3/4 of a percentage point. You took it off the table. Why?
Well, actually, what I said was that the committee had
not
decided
actively considering, right?
I said we weren't actively considering that, but I said what we were actively considering, and this is just a factual recitation of what happened at the meeting, was a 50 basis point increase. That's a 0.5 percentage point increase, the first one in more than 20 years, and that we thought that if the economy performs about as expected, that it would be appropriate for there to be additional 50 basis point increases at the next two meetings. So, but I would just say, we have a series of expectations about the economy. If things come in better than we expect, then we're prepared to do less. If they come in worse than we expect, then we're prepared to do more.
Let me be clear, 75 basis points is prepared to do more?
What you've seen is you've seen this committee adapt to the incoming data and the evolving outlook, and that's what we'll continue to do.